to the Nasboys podcast. We're back here with another video. Yes, 3 uploads this week. Isn't that crazy? All right, so we got a brand new video idea for you. This is one that I thought of and posted about for us to review today. We're going to be looking at NASCAR fans' most controversial and crazy takes. So I'm sure you've seen a good bit of those, Mike, and we'll probably end up explaining some of our own crazy opinions. Are you looking forward to this?
I am very much looking forward to this. I'm excited to see what stuff people wrote. I read some of them. They did look pretty interesting.
Yes, and I posted on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter the same thing. Let me know down in the comments section what your most controversial NASCAR opinion or take is. And I got a good bit of answers, and we're going to read them out for y'all today on the show. And first, we're going to start out with Instagram, and then we're going to do Twitter and Facebook. So start off with Instagram. Rick Ware Racing will win a race in multiple races this year. I don't know. His English is a mess. Casey Fresh 35. I think the autocorrects did wonders there for you. Basically, what he's trying to say is R will win multiple races next year. Rick Ware Racing, basically. So I don't know about that one, but I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I usually don't like to do this for some people's opinions. I think he's just trolling. So that's pretty terrible. I'm not going to lie. I think he's just trolling, though.
Now, this next one made me question why I'd made this idea, and that one was by Smithfield Racing fan 00. He said stage racing is amazing. I have to completely disagree with that. What about you?
Well, I understand why some people would like stage racing. I personally am neutral on it. I like the extra points that it gives, but I also don't like how I guess it makes the race longer. I don't like how they just have to race to the line for the stage. I wish they would just go all the way and give bonus points at the halfway mark to the top 10 instead of just, oh, it's stage 1. Here, let's pit. And then after the halfway part, stay green and then go pit.
Yeah, I do get your point there. Like, I like how it helps with the points and all that, but I just personally don't like it because it takes away from a lot of green flag pit stops. You know what I'm saying? And it means I don't think because of the format, there's probably never going to be another NASCAR race with 0 cautions. That's just being honest with you. Moving on, we got Andrew Prince _11 saying Denny Hamlin is overhated. I would say he does have a little bit of a point here. I do think he gets way too much hate, and he shouldn't get, hate, death threats, and all that, of course, But Denny Hamlin, of course, is one of the most disliked drivers in the sport right now. And I liked his comment because he does have a good point here. What about you, Mike?
I don't know. I really hate Denny Hamlin, so I'm going to be a little biased here. He does deserve some hate. He's a crybaby. He's arrogant. He wrecks people. He's cut people's tires and complains about it when it happens to him and he gets a taste of his own medicine. So definitely he deserves some hate.
Well, I'm not one that hates anybody or anything like that, but we both have our points, and that's why it's called opinions. All right, next we got Dalton Malak. He says, I would say the 2020 Talladega playoff race when Denny Hamlin went below the yellow line and passed everybody and didn't get penalized when Matt Benedetto and Logano forced other drivers below the yellow line. Yes, that's one I think a lot of people would say Hamlin should have been penalized. I think that's pretty clear. Here's the video if you haven't seen it.
Big run, he slides. They make more contact. 3 wide as they come out of 4.
Hamlin to the inside. Side draft coming from the 24 car.
Denny Hamlin, William Byron through the tri-oval coming up to the stripe. And as they go across the stripe, a photo finish. Denny Hamlin.
There's clear rules in the rule book that you have to race above the yellow line. And, we have 2 wide yellow lines, a black line in the middle, and our definition of under the yellow line is when the left side tires go below the the insidemost yellow line. So.
Yes. Yeah, this is the first W of the video so far. That race, in my opinion, was so controversial. It's one of the most confusing NASCAR races I had watched in some time. I never had seen, like, I knew it was a penalty to force someone below the line, but I had never seen it been called that many times. And some of the calls were plain stupid. Some of the calls, yes, they did get correct, but a lot of them were just stupid. Like, I don't understand how that could be forcing somebody below the line. And then when Busher did it toward the end, that was forcing. And Hamlin went clearly below the line. I don't know if he was trying to avoid a crash or not. I thought I read somewhere that he was and that it was legal, but no. He clearly passed below the line, and I think either Eric Jones or Matthew Benedetto should have won that race.
Agreed. Moving on, we got opinion of your own, Mike. You commented on my post and said, people who worship Dale Sr. but complain about Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Doug Gregson are stupid and hypocritical. I will say that's definitely an accurate point, Mike, because they do. It's true. We see that people complain about Logano and Kyle Busch, Hamlin, and I would say, Gregson, Chase Elliott bumping people out of the way. When Dale Sr., he did that all the time. That's why he was the intimidator. So I like that one.
And I would like to add that Ross Chastain to that list as well. That man drives very hard, and a lot of people are starting to really not like him.
Now, would Ricky Stenhouse be considered in that category too?
No, Ricky Stenhouse is just plain stupid. But yeah, what was I going to say? Oh, yes. Those guys, some of those guys, they do get a little aggressive at stupid points. But if you think about it, Dale has intentionally wrecked people so many times. And I mean, no disrespect to him. I love Dale Sr. as much as the next guy. But if you're going to worship him and, make him the GOAT, you got to at least respect the fact that Logano, Gregson, Busch, and Chastain have the balls to go out there and race as hard as they can for the amount of time the race is. And they just get complained about so much. Now, I understand for some of those guys, specifically Logano and Busch, that they may have their other reasons to be disliked, but racing hard and aggressive is not one of them. I can admit that those guys make dumb choices at too early points, especially Gregson, but I'm not going to complain about them racing hard.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, we got Upside Down Motorsports says, we need more road courses and less mile and a halves.
No.
That's a little outdated because we have more road courses now in the schedule and less mile and a halves, getting rid of Chicagoland and Kentucky. And I do think Kansas shouldn't have 2 races, same thing with Las Vegas, but it's a little bit of an outdated one for me.
Yeah, I don't like this one at all. Sorry, but I gotta give this one an L. If you want to go watch road courses, go watch F1 and IndyCar. NASCAR, in my opinion, should have more short tracks. I'm neutral with the 6 road courses because I do like some of the road courses on the schedule, but I don't think they should continue to add road courses. I think that it's fine the way it is with some of them.
Next up, we got 4 hot takes, and these are from people we know. Mike, Gabriel says Kevin Harvick is the best driver that NASCAR has right now, but the car limits him, and he is able to compete against Kyle Larson. I think that's an incorrect statement there.
Oh, no. Okay. Kevin Harvick last season, the 2020 season, had 9 wins. He had a dip in performance because SHR's equipment is not up to par, and Hendrick's equipment got raised up a lot. And Larson is an easily adaptable driver. You can see him within late models or dirt late models, whatever he drives, he can win in it, and he can win championships in it. And he's just a great driver. And I think that Larson is probably the best driver. Harvick is definitely up in that conversation, but I don't think he's the best driver right now.
Next up, we got Joey Catone saying all championships are deserved no matter the points format. This one is quite quite extreme take here, very hot take. I don't know about that one. I know, no matter the points format, all championships deserves. I don't know, man. I don't know about this one. It's pretty crazy. We got two other ones.
I didn't say my opinion on that.
Okay. Well, we also have time limits, so.
I'm neutral on it. I think that, yes, championships are deserved because they played the points format right, but it also sucks, like Kevin Harvick last year in 2020, how he wins 9 races and was the most consistent and then gets beat out by Chase Elliott. So I think to an extent he's correct, but at the same time there should be the real champions.
Yes, agreed. All right, so next we got one from Gage. Gaginator1122 says the yellow line rule at super speedways are good, but they should be called off on the last lap. I actually agree with this statement because we've seen so many controversial finishes with the yellow line rule. And the next comment, it actually has to do with one of those controversial incidences. So I agree with you, Gage.
Yeah, I agree too, Gage. That's a great point. I know why it's there, but it's also very stupid when it comes to the last lap because these guys are gonna do whatever they can.
Okay, so this one's probably gonna be one of the most controversial of the video. The 2008 Talladega race robbing of Regan Smith Jr. or Regan Smith was a good call, and Nick Redfield said this. He says the 2008 Talladega race robbing of Regan Smith was a good call.
No.
Disagree. He got forced below the Yolanda Stewart, and NASCAR was like, oh, let's give the win to Stewart.
Tony Stewart has never won at Talladega in a NASCAR Sprint Cup car.
He's going to do a lot of blocking right here. They've got to run on him. Got to run.
Here they come.
I can't go down there and do that, though.
Actually, I think it's legal on the last lap.
He might have got it right there. I think it's legal on the last.
The replay again. Watch a 0-1.
And he got forced down there. I mean, Tony Stewart actually forced him down.
Smith could have wrecked him if he wanted to, but Stewart forced him below the line. And because of the rule and all that, Regan Smith, didn't want to. Because of that race, they basically in 2009 spring race, whenever a similar incident happened again, Brad didn't go below your line. He wrecked Carl Edwards, and Edwards flew into the fence. So, I mean, this is,
That is a complete L right there. Tony Stewart should have been penalized, and Regan Smith should have won 2 races in his Cup Series career.
Downer Jr. is in even top 15 all time on the driver's list.
Yeah.
I agree with that because I remember when I was making up my top 50 NASCAR list, not top 50 greatest NASCAR drivers of all time list. Junior wasn't even in my top 15. I think I had him in the 20s, like maybe late 20s. So, yeah, I agree with that statement.
I would put him in the 30s. I definitely don't think he's a top 15 driver. Maybe in terms of popularity, but definitely not in terms of driving and stats.
Next, we got Barrett Polhemus saying Jeff Gordon is the greatest NASCAR driver of all time. I do not agree with that. He is definitely top 4, but not greatest of all time.
He's not my GOAT per se, but I do somewhat see his point. I think he's one of the best in the electronic scoring era, though, because 94 wins, that's pretty good.
Next up, we got, I think this one's a little bit of a biased comment. House of Hamlin says, Denny Hamlin is the top 20 driver all time, regardless how many championships he has.
No. Well, I don't know. Maybe close to 20, but I don't know.
I have to say top 30 or top 40,
Like closer to 20, but definitely not 20.
All right. Next, we got the NASCAR Hangout saying the Generation 7 car is crap. Or poop, according to this comment here.
Well, the number placement, that is for sure crap, but we haven't even seen the car really yet. And from the tests that we've seen, it looks really good and it sounds really good and just everything looks really good. and I'm excited to see it.
Yep. All right. Next up, we got. Go to. All right. Henry 24257. Henry Rumfield says the 2014 season was the best season of the Car of Tomorrow, or the NASCAR
Gen 6.
Yeah, Gen 6. My fault. That's what I meant.
I see that point.
That is a good point. I think that definitely. I would have to say yes, because either that or 2016, because 2014 we saw a lot of drama. It's the first season of the playoff format, and we saw a lot of controversy. We saw a lot of action for points. We saw, the fights with Keselowski and Kenseth and Gordon, and that season was pretty crazy. So I agree with that.
I think I agree with his point too. There was a lot of good racing. That lower downforce package was a lot better than what we have today. There was a lot of storylines involving like Brad Keselowski, Jeff Gordon, Matt Kenseth, and the playoffs were definitely very eventful. So I think I will agree with his point.
All right, now we're moving on to Twitter. Now, I only had basically 2 responses on Twitter, but Ultimate 23 Dragon has multiple opinions for us to review, and I think these are pretty crazy, so just buckle up.
Oof.
His first one,
Twitter, so I already know I gotta buckle up.
His first one, Talladega sucks and should be removed from the schedule.
What?
Oh man, this one's definitely I don't know about that one, man. I think Talladega is the good track, even though it's had a history. I don't agree.
I hate to discredit people's opinions, but that is a massive L. Talladega is, in my opinion, the best track on the NASCAR schedule. It draws a lot of hype. It brings great racing every year, no matter the package, and fans love it. So, and it gets high ratings, so they're gonna keep it. I don't know why people would say it sucks. If you think Talladega sucks, then you also think Daytona sucks.
All right, his next one is Mike Joy's fan base bashing literally every other announcer in the sport single-handedly made Mike Joy massively overrated.
No.
So I'm guessing what he's trying to say is Mike Joy's fan base apparently was bashing the other announcers in NASCAR, and it's made him overrated. I've seen some fans complain about Rick Allen, but not really any of the other announcers, to be honest with you. I like Mike Joy. He's one of my favorite NASCAR announcers / commentators. But yeah, that was a 50-50 for me.
Yeah, I mean it's a decent point, because I do see a lot of Mike Joy stands. I've never really seen them discredit other broadcasters except for maybe Rick Allen, but I do somewhat see this point if that person has seen other people discredit the other announcers.
Next up, we got his next one is Kyle Larson should have never been allowed back in NASCAR. That's what we've talked about sort of before on the podcast, and I don't really agree with that statement. But everyone has their own opinions. A lot of people would say he should be allowed back, which he was, and then there's some people like, oh, he shouldn't be ever allowed back. So.
Yeah, I mean, this one's kind of a 50-50 for me, because what he did say, of course, was wrong. I'm not going to approve of somebody saying that word. But I think he should have been allowed back if he really made himself redeemable and he learned this is not good to say and he went through all the sensitivity training, then he absolutely should have been allowed back. But, if we ever hear of it again, then definitely kick him out. But I think he should have been allowed back.
All right, and the last one he has is NASCAR needs to make amends with its Southern fan base. I'm trying to think of what his point here, because I'm guessing he's saying NASCAR's lost its Southern fan base because of certain moves they've done that may have been political or with demographics, but I don't know what he's trying to go for there.
Yeah, I think that maybe they've lost a portion of their Southern fans because I have seen a lot of people complain like about the package and how the racing isn't what it used to be. And just today, which I think you can see on Christian's whiteboard there, free MHR, that NASCAR has kind of gone a little bit softer. So I think that a lot of the Southern fans are upset at a lot of the stuff NASCAR is trying to do to appease the younger fans, which some of it is valid. Some of it is, up in the air. It depends really like how you are, but I can see this person's point with they should make amends with some of their Southern fans and try to figure out a way to keep them interested in the sport while at the same time getting a younger demographic in the sport.
All right, yeah, that's a great way to put it. All right, and underneath his comment, he says, honestly, underneath his comment, 11 Owl 2 says, honestly, you need a reality check. So he clearly didn't agree with his opinions there.
Yeah, I mean, the Larson thing and the Talladega thing, definitely, but the other two were decent points.
All right, and then NASCAR man _RR says, I want to see what would happen if they ran a Martinsville race with no rear spoiler. We'd probably see a lot more bumping, like damage. But
I'm not really sure how exactly that would be. I think that would be an interesting thing, though.
All right, now let's move on to Facebook. Okay, so there was a lot of weird ones on Facebook. I'll say the picture I used for the post was when Tony Stewart threw his helmet at Kenny Romer Jr., and some people took it too literally, saying stuff about Tony Stewart running over people. So one of them was by Dwayne Todd. He says, before Tony just started running over drivers he was mad at, he just threw his helmet at them. That has nothing to do with the video idea. So, bruh.
Oh, Facebook. Never change.
Now, this next one is seen multiple times. Bradley White says, Mark Martin got a bum violation, so Dale Earnhardt Sr. can win another title. And the same thing was said by Debbie Lips. I don't know how to pronounce that. My apologies if you're watching this video. Same thing that happened in 1990. For those who don't know, Mark Martin got a penalty. I forgot what it was. I think it was some type of inspection penalty, and it cost him a lot of points. And basically, without that penalty, he would have won the championship. It would have been his championship that he was looking for a long time. So, yeah, what is your opinion on that?
Well, the thing is, I don't know if he really did fail inspection because that's a valid reason. I don't know. You're not there officiating the car and inspecting the car, so I don't know how you can say that, it's a bum violation or that, they took the championship away. I mean, obviously, if Dale Sr. won, since he was the most popular driver at that time, it would get NASCAR more headlines instead of Mark Martin, but I don't think they took it away from him on purpose.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. All right, so next, Debbie also says, Jimmy Johnson is the most impressive 7-time champion. I have to disagree with that, even though I am a Jimmy Johnson fan. I do not think he's the most impressive 7-time champion. I will say that she does have a good point here because Jimmy Johnson did win 5 championships in a row out of the 7, and it was in a playoff format, whereas Dale Sr. won it 7 times, and even though Sr., I feel like Sr. and Richard Petty, the GOAT debate's really hard, and it's something that everyone has different opinions on, and you could have multiple arguments for it. And that's something for maybe another video on our channel, but I would have to agree somewhat with what she said.
Well, yes, I both agree and disagree because yes, Jimmy Johnson did win 5 championships in a row. However, if they just used the older format, he would have been probably a 2 or 3-time champ, and Jeff Gordon would have been the real 7-time champ, which puts my argument of Jeff Gordon over Jimmy Johnson.
Yep. All right.
My opinion, I just want to add one more thing. In my opinion, I think Dale Sr. is the most impressive 7-time champ without the chase format.
All righty. Now let's move on. We got Jude Naples or Naples, who says NASCAR declined not because of safety, but because of technology. I don't think, well, NASCAR has declined somewhat in a way. And I do agree with most of his point because I don't think it declined because of safety, because the safety, it's great. And I'm glad that they improved on the safety and all that. And the technology thing, I have to agree with, because now the cars are becoming more, I would say, I don't know if you would say electronic, but it's more technology based. And especially with what happened recently with now the single lug nut, that's something that a lot of fans do not like. And I have to agree with him on that. Like, I think it had nothing to do with safety. It has to do with technology and the way the sport was trying to, I guess, appeal to younger fans. That's just my opinion.
Well, I don't think that it was because of safety as well, because still in the early 2000s, when they added all the safer barriers and Hans devices, NASCAR was still relatively popular. I think NASCAR got less popular because of all the gimmicks that they put in.
Yeah.
Like the stage racing and, all the social media crap and how they milk things, and the racing got boring because of all the packages. Like, I'm a diehard NASCAR fan. I watch every time there's a race, no matter the series, and I love it. But it does get a little boring sometimes. Sometimes I'm sitting on my couch and I want to fall asleep and counting the laps down because the race is boring. So I feel like a lot of the Southern fans are just kind of getting tired of that new age. And plus, there's not really a personality besides like Kyle Busch that people can like or dislike.
Yeah, I have to agree with your point there. Personally, my favorite, going back and watching races, I'd say I really like watching 1990s races and early 2000s. I first started watching NASCAR in 2004. And I would say that the peak was the 90s and early 2000s. But the 70s and 80s are really fun to watch as well. And speaking of, you're mentioning how some tracks are boring and all that, Atlanta, Las Vegas.
Oh man, there's plenty of them.
Yeah, so that's
Atlanta and Richmond are two that stick out. Pocono as well.
Richmond's not like what it used to be for sure.
Not at all.
We got one more left in the video, and this one's by Jimmy Brom. He says NASCAR could have started looking into basal skull fractures in the mid 1990s. I 100% agree with that. Now, there is something you have to think about with this. Did they have the technology to look into that back then? I did not live in the 90s, so I do not know the correct way to answer this, but I don't know if they had all the details and all the, I don't say like technology and information about basal skull fractures to assess that and to, I guess, figure it out back then. But nevertheless, they should have looked into them, because I remember when Neil Bonnet, like reading about Neil Bonnet's fatal crash, Rodney Orr's, back in the early 90s, Stanley Smith almost was killed at Talladega from a head-on hit he had a skull fracture as well. So there was a lot of skull fractures in the 90s, 80s, and in the 2000 and 2001 with Dale Earnhardt Sr. It was a big problem, and it was something that was the most common cause of, I would say, death or fatalities in NASCAR. So I think NASCAR could have looked more into it, in my opinion. So I think that one right there is definitely one of the most, I would say, reasonable opinions of the video, or ones that one of the most accurate ones.
Well, I'm 18, so you can do the math there. But I did not live in the 90s, of course. I think that they might have had some sort of technology to take a look at your head, but not as advanced as it is today. So I could see why that's not looked into enough, but I think that they definitely should have, and they could have potentially even put the Hans devices mandated even sooner.
Yep, I'm trying to find out right now on my computer when they found out how. Okay, Okay, so tell me when. Okay, so it is like a common cause. I mean, we've seen this in IndyCar too, Formula One. This type of injury. It doesn't say. It doesn't say when, but of course, you know it says the examples of it. Ernie Irvan was another driver who had a skull fracture, and that was in 1994 at Michigan. He survived that.
Mm-hmm.
But for those that don't know, basal skull fractures include breaks in the posterior skull base or anterior skull base. The temporal bone fracture is encountered in 75% of all basal skull fractures. It causes damage to the cranial nerves, causes loss of function in the nerves. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff I see on my screen that would take forever to read, but it causes trauma, stops blood, or it causes a lot of blood too. But yeah, that's basically what that's about.
Interesting.
Alrighty, guys. Well, this is going to wrap up the video today. I hope y'all enjoyed it. If you weren't able to comment on my post and have some controversial or crazy takes, comment down below what yours are. We'll be happy to read them. Thank you, Mike, for joining me in this video. And if you haven't yet, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Go follow our social media networks down below, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.